everyone, hope you're all doing very well and welcome back to another video here on the channel. In today's video, we're going to be testing another battery pack, and this is one that I haven't heard of yet before. So you guys requested I take a look at the Rapid line that Turnigy is now putting out. They have many models on the Rapid line, so what I did is I picked up a 5000 milliamp hour 100C, and it's a soft case lithium polymer battery pack. This is what they look like. This is the 5 amp hour battery packs, and at 100C. There's some pretty significant expectations when you see a 100C battery pack, but I'm sure a lot of you guys probably eye roll when you hear 100C, and you're not alone. So what I always do when we test these batteries is I solder on connectors here to standardize the test. So this is the standard connector that I use on all my battery packs, and I have also used them on every single test. Ultimately, to test these battery packs, we're going to go through the standard tests that we do here on the channel. The one that I'm really big on is one that you can do at home, and that is by just checking the internal resistance in a controlled manner to see where your battery pack is when you buy it brand new. I'd highly suggest that you do this for every single battery pack that you buy brand new. Look at that internal resistance rating, because you can compare this sometime in the future to see how your battery's health is doing. So we're going to do that test here very shortly, and then we're going to do another performance test where we load the battery pack up to 105 amps or so. If the battery pack can perform well, you'll see 105 amps. If it performs better, you'll see more. If it performs worse, you'll see even less than that. So that's how we'll do that. Let's jump right into the next part of this video, where we're going to look at the internal resistance readings for this specific battery pack. First thing that we do is we calculate how fast we're going to charge up this battery. We always take a rate of 1.5C. We multiply that by the 5 amp hour and we get 7.5. So that's where the 7.5 is that you're going to see pop up on the screen right here, right now. So as it begins to charge up the battery, it's going to heat that battery pack up. And if you leave it on the charger for quite some time, you're actually going to have the internal resistance of the pack drop over time, which is not what we want to have happen. So I'll explain a little bit more in a second. We take our very first reading at the 1 minute mark. This is what our charger allows, and we see anything from 6.4 to 6.8 milliohms. Now the reason why it's important to hit this early is because you want the internal resistance taken when the pack has not yet warmed up beyond what it would be when you have this at room temperature. So that's critical and important, and luckily for us, our charger does this at the 1 minute mark. So here we got the second battery pack going through the same motions at 7.5 amps. We check the internal resistance here, and I don't know if this is a little bit worse, but it does show 5.8 to 7.2, with the other pack cells there at 6.6, so not that different there. So now we need to take this information, jump over to the RCexplained calc sheet. This is that calculator here. Now I have on my keyboard this slip. I've taken my car to the drag strip and I ran it, and I have this video actually posted on my other channel. If you want to take a look at that, I make multiple passes, and with every pass I launch the car a little bit more aggressively. And this was the first time I've taken in a car that has an automatic transmission there, and I'm a little bit skeptical as to how early that car is actually shifting. I would expect if Toyota gives me a red line of a certain amount, as well as telling me peak horsepower is made at this amount, why is the transmission always shifting earlier than that? So I'm a little confused as to that, but anyway, if you guys have any idea as to what's going on, let me know in the comments over there, or even here if you've already watched that video. Let's get going on this. This is version 24.06. I do want to change the way that I'm versioning these, so I'm choosing to select the year, the month, and I think this is going to be easier for everybody to find which file we're always referring to here. So what we want to do, there's lots of different tabs to help you if you want to perform calculations on brushless motors, on radio control cars, airplanes, boats, that sort of thing. Let's jump over to the LiPo calculator, because today what we want to do is we want to understand what the real C rating of this pack as it relates to the internal resistance is going to be. We know that our pack here, if we go and enter information into the green section of this calculator, we can enter the 5,000 milliamp hour that this pack is, and we know that we average 6.58. So if I take all 8 cells that we just measured and average them, we get 6.58. Not a very good number here indeed. In fact, I'm afraid of what's going to pop up here, especially since the last value said 17.7. I'm expecting 17.7 to actually go down. So we submit that and it comes up at 13.8 C, probably the worst C rating that I've ran in this specific calculator in a very long time. This gives us a maximum continuous current of 69 amps as recommended, and what we probably are thinking at this point is we have our 100C rated pack and we're actually only getting 13.8% of that. All right, guys, now we know how this performs in terms of the internal resistance, and I have to say right away, right off the bat here, is that these battery packs are not looking good at all. The performance that we're getting internal resistance wise is extremely low. This might actually, I have to refer to all the rest of the data that I have, but this might actually be one of the worst that I've tested for a 5,000 milliamp hour battery pack. It's even worse than the Turnigy 770C battery pack. It's even worse than the Turnigy 45C at 4 amp hour. That's quite incredible and quite shocking as well that this battery can actually perform in the internal resistance test at a worse value than a 4045C Turnigy battery. Remember, both of those come from the same battery manufacturer. All right, I just completed the load test for these battery packs. Let's now go and take a look at the data that we've collected from those load tests. Here's our test results. Let's just jump right into it. What we're doing here is we're comparing the Rapid pack that we just ran on this load test and compare it against the Graphene 75C, I think I mentioned 70C earlier, a 5000, and the CNHL G Plus series, which is going to be at 70C as well, and it's a 5000 milliamp hour too. So the first specification that we're looking at is already very weak, and I promise you it's not going to get any better from here. So the total milliamp hour that we actually depleted from this pack is 2186, and the reason why it actually stops here is because it hits and trips the voltage cutoff in the ESC. This is kind of important because we're doing a 105 amp load test, meaning if you actually pulled 105 amps from this pack at 2186 milliamp hour that you actually pull from it, you are essentially going to have no remaining capacity as long as you have a voltage cutoff of 3.3 volts, which is probably quite close to the standard or what you should be having as a voltage cutoff in this day and age, at least from my recommendation. Now, looking at the next specification here, the milliamp hour to 3.5 volts is 66 milliamp hour. That takes about 2.6 seconds to reach, and in comparison to all the other packs that we have below here, it's 1264, 1780, and it takes almost a full minute, if not a minute, for the CNHL to actually hit the voltage of 3.5. And 3.6 volts, as you can see, it's again nowhere close. In half a second or so, it's going to pull 10.6 milliamp hours out of that pack, and it's already hitting that 3.60 volt threshold. And the other packs were able to deliver at least 400 milliamp hour, and the CNHL delivered 765 milliamp hours until it hit 3.60 volts. We take a look at the voltage that we have at the 10-second mark. Before we had 3.67 on the CNHL, 363 on the Graphene. This is the Turnigy 75C series, and on the Rapid series we got 3.39, a very, very low value. And this is going to now work itself into the amount of energy that we have per cell, and this is measured in watt minutes. So it really relates the amount of capacity that we have here, which is awfully low because we hit that voltage cutoff early. We have 443.3 watt minutes of energy per cell in this battery. The average cell wattage that we get from here, it's kind of interesting that it's 315. It does perform quite weak, and the difference between here, although it doesn't seem like it's that far off, it's quite far off when you're looking at the average cell wattage. A very minor difference here you see between these two batteries, and on this battery, very, very big difference, when you drop off pretty much 40 watts of average power per cell. So that's what we're seeing from this battery. Definitely very weak in terms of performance. Well, there's the results, guys. Quite disappointing indeed. These battery packs definitely do not perform up to the specifications that the manufacturer places on the label. And because of that, we get to see exactly how poor they are, being one of the most poor battery packs that I've tested thus far. Well, hope you enjoyed the video. As always, like the video if you do. Don't forget to hit that sub button so that I can see you guys in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next one.